Okay, fine, children. So we have covered all the therapies under this chapter. We have completed till Gestalt therapy yesterday. Now starting with a new topic, factors contributing to healing psychotherapy. Now we're going to discuss about various factors which contribute to healing in psychotherapies. Now we are talking about all psychotherapies altogether. So what are those important factors which facilitate the process of healing to a great extent? Now let us discuss the first factor. The first factor in the healing is the techniques adapted by the therapist and the implementation of the same with the patient and client. Now, what is the first factor which is determining the healing process? The techniques which are selected by the therapist. There is a psychological distress, right? Now, this is the duty of the therapist to identify, first of all, it very precisely, that what kind of disorder or distress is it. Apply. Whether he has to go for behavior techniques, whether he has to go for Gestalt techniques. So it is the responsibility of the therapist. Now, after deciding or after specifying that these techniques will be applied in this kind of disorder, what is the second important word I used? Implementation. See, to implement the thing is very important. Execution, implementation, both the things are very important, because how do you apply it, how effectively you are applying it on your client, whether the client is getting benefit out of it or not. So the two things, the two factors are, first of all, selection of techniques, right? And second one, the implementation of those techniques precisely and effectively on your patient. What is the second factor? We talked about in the beginning of this chapter. I hope you remember about therapeutic relationship, right? And what is the other word for this? The alliance. Therapeutic, the relationship you can say, or therapeutic alliance are both are the same terms. What does it basically means? The relationship the therapist and the client is sharing. This is known as alliance, right? It covers many things, that how a therapist maintain a very warm, trustable, protective environment with the client. Is he able to provide the empathy to the client? So a lot of things are there. It is also about the duration of the relationship, that this relationship is never permanent. It never goes on full on your lifespan, but it is limited to a certain period, right? So this is all about therapeutic alliances, the second factor which is very important in contributing the healing process. The third one is, whenever the therapist is about to start the therapy, or he is starting with the sessions of therapy, the client is always encouraged to discuss about his feelings, about his emotions, about his targets, about his dreams, about his aspirations, likes, dislikes, everything. The therapist always encourages the client to speak about his personality, about himself, lot and lot. Why? There is a reason. First of all, the therapist will get an idea about the distress or about the abnormalities or about the conflicts in his client's life. And second thing, this process is basically known as catharsis. Please, if you can see the word in the book, underline it. Very important word. Also important from 1 mark question. 1 mark question could be there. What do you mean by catharsis? There it is needed. So catharsis is a process of emotional unburdenment. What does it mean? When the client feels very secure, very relaxed while talking with the therapist, and he is sharing all his experiences, all his confidential information, right? So what happens? All of a sudden, he feels very relaxed, because he is able to unburden all those feelings, all those emotions to someone. This is a kind of thing which we often do with our friends, with our loved one, the person on whom we have a great trust. Yes, all we have one best friend, right? At home also we are very close either to our mother, either to our father, or both of them, or we are very close to our sibling. So at some point of time we need someone to support, we need someone to share the things, we need a very very, you can say, warm conversation with someone. Fine. So this process helps you to unburden all the emotions, all the things, and make you feel relaxed. So this process is known as catharsis, and it is also an important factor in the contribution or in the process of healing while any psychotherapy, right? The last one, what is the factor? There are two words given. There are several non-specific factors and specific factors also associated with the psychotherapy. Now, when we are talking about mainly non-specific factors, it is applicable on both the people. There are non-specific factors which are applicable on both, on whom? One is therapist, right? And the second one is whom? On the client. So there are non-specific factors which are applicable on therapist also as well as on the client also. Now, what are these non-specific factors? When we talk about the client, what are the factors? It is motivation for change, right? When we look at the problem from whose point of view? From client point of view. So what are the non-specific factors? The motivation for change, expectation of improvement due to treatment. Now, these are the things which are needed from which side? From client side. As a therapist will always expect that the client should also be, motivated. There should be intrinsic motivation. We talked about this word earlier. Intrinsic motivation. There should be inner motivation into the client to gain, benefit from this therapy. There should be an expectation, there should be some hope, there should be some optimistic outlook that yes, I'll be cured or I'll improve my life after going through this therapy. So these are the non-specific factors from client's point of view. And these are also known as patient variables, right? Another word, please remember, non-specific factors about the client are also known as patient variables. Now, what are the non-specific factors from therapist side? These are positive nature, absence of unresolved emotional conflicts, presence of good mental health. Now, see, children, these are very important features which are expected to have in a therapist. If therapist is also going from same circumstances, or the therapist is also having a very conflicting personality, then how he'll be able to cure another one? So for a therapist, he has to be a very solved kind of person, a very mature kind of person, and always should have an optimistic outlook for the thing, that I'll be able to provide the improvement, I will be able to provide the modification which is required during this therapy, right? Unresolved emotional conflicts. If there should be absence of these things, particularly in a therapist. If therapist also struggling with the same things, with a lot of conflicts which are not resolved, lot of negative emotions, whether it is related to frustration, anger, irritation. So what is the use of the therapy? So the therapist has to have a very solved kind of personality, a very mature kind of personality. So these were the non-specific factors from both the sides, from the therapist and from the client side. But when we talk about non-specific factors in clients, it is also known as, please remember, patient variables. Fine. So these were certain factors which contribute to the healing process in every psychotherapy. We have covered quite a lot of psychotherapies in this chapter. So these are the common factors which are applied to each and every kind of psychotherapy. Now let us also cover the next topic, ethics in psychotherapy. There are ethics in psychotherapies also, there are ethics in psychology also, as we have done in class 11, right? In the very first chapter, when it was related to voluntary participation, when it was related to confidentiality of the result, when it was related to the debriefing of the process. Yes, remember? So in the same manner, for practicing psychotherapy by a therapist, certain ethics are very important. What are those? First, that is very general. Informed consent needs to be taken. Informed consent means that there should be a voluntary kind of relationship or participation from which side? From the client side. Informed consent has another meaning also. In this, you can also write that everything should be explained to the client, if it is possible and if it is allowed. So the therapist also should give a brief outline to the client that these are the steps, these are the things, or these are the phases from which we're going through in our therapy in the coming future. And informed consent should be there, that maybe there is a need to talk to your family members, there will be a need to talk to your friends, so whether you will be allowing me to do that. So informed consent means the consent should be taken from client. This is very much required. What is second one? Again, the confidentiality of the client should be maintained. The information which has been, given by the client should not leak, should not be shared with any other person without the client's consent. The third one is alleviating personal distress and suffering should be the goal of all attempts of the therapist. Very obvious that what is the target, what is the goal of any psychotherapy, that we should be able to alleviate, we should be able to eradicate, we should be able to eliminate all kind of distress and sufferings from which the client is going through. What is the fourth one? Integrity of the practitioner-client relationship is important. Now, what is integrity? When we talk about integrity, I hope you can take out some meaning out of this word when we talk about Gestalt therapy. So we see the things as a whole, in a holistic manner. So integrity means integration should be there. The efforts should be from both the sides, from the therapist also and from the client also. And integration means the thing should be unified into one whole. So all the efforts, all the things should be collected and unified and integrated so that the result could be very effective. What is the fifth one? Respect for human rights and dignity. We should always remember one thing, that we are dealing with the most sophisticated creature on the earth, and as well a very complex type of nature. Human beings are very complex when we talk about in terms of behavior, because we cannot predict the things. Human behavior is very complex, and there are certain things which we have to respect. Suppose, as we talked about earlier also, I have given you many examples. Suppose we are doing any research on hunger drive, right? So we will take two groups, right? We talked about experimental and control group. So experimental control group so there should be obviously comparison between the two things. अब comparison है तो क्या होगा? Difference होना लाजमी है ना? दोनों group के बीच में there should be some difference. Then only we can be able to compare. So what we are doing, we cannot keep somebody, hungry for many hours, or we could not, starve any human being for too long. So these are certain human rights which all therapists, psychologists, all the professional person has to respect. That the human rights and dignity should not be harmed. The last one is what? Professional competence and skills are essential. This is on the part of a therapist, that he should be very trained, he should have proper degree, he should have proper academic things which are important, all the competent skills which are required, proper experience. So all these things are very important on the part of therapist before applying any therapy on any person. So these were certain ethics, around 5 to 6 ethics, which are essential, which are very important in any psychotherapy. So we have done factors which contribute to healing. Second thing, we have done ethics in psychotherapy. Now another topic is alternative therapies, which is quite long, so I'm not starting it today. We're going to cover it in tomorrow's class, the alternative therapies and rehabilitation of the mentally ill. These two topics are still there, and alternative therapies is quite a long topic, so let us not begin it. Ma'am, please stop with the recording.